The moment the taser hit me, I was standing in my own doorway. I wasn't running, I wasn't shouting, I wasn't threatening anyone. I was holding onto the frame of the house I had just bought, and a uniformed officer decided that wasn't good enough. That's how this story starts. It was a Saturday, the kind you dream about when you're still working overtime and counting the years until retirement. I had just finished mowing the lawn of the home my wife and I saved for over 2 decades to afford. I'm a retired sheriff's deputy. 21 years on the job, patrol warrants, long nights, everything that comes with wearing that badge. I thought when I retired, I'd finally get to be just another homeowner worrying about grass height and barbecue sauce. Instead, I ended up face down on my own hardwood floor with a taser wire hanging out of my chest. You know that knock. Not really a knock, more like a pounding. The kind that says whoever's on the other side isn't asking. I checked the doorbell cam on my phone and saw a patrol officer standing there, hand hovering near his belt like he was expecting trouble. I figured maybe something happened down the street, maybe he was canvassing, maybe a car got broken into. So I opened the door. Step outside. No introduction, no good afternoon, just that. I remember blinking, thinking I misheard him. I'm sorry. Step outside, now! That tone. I'd used it before, but only when I had a lawful reason. Only when something was actually happening. Officer, what's this about? I kept my hands visible. Instinct, you never lose that. I saw someone matching your description acting suspicious earlier. I actually laughed just a little. You saw me mowing my lawn? He didn't laugh back. I need to verify you belong here. Belong. That word hung in the air heavier than anything else. I felt that old familiar heat in my chest, the one you get when you realize what's really being said without it being said. I've been pulled over while off duty, followed in stores, mistaken for the suspect when I was the one responding to the call. You learn to swallow it, keep it moving. But this was my house. I had signed the mortgage papers. My wife had picked out the paint colors. I live here, I said calmly. If you have reasonable suspicion, tell me what it is. His jaw tightened. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Right there, the shift happened. It stopped being about whatever imaginary suspicion he had and started being about control. From inside the house, my wife called out, "Everything okay?" I didn't answer her yet. I kept my eyes on him. No warrant, no exigent circumstances. You can't order me out of my home. Last warning, he said, and his hand dropped to his taser. That's when my wife stepped beside me, her voice tight with worry. Just do what he says. And I get why she said that. Compliance can feel like safety. But I've worn that uniform, I know the law. If you surrender ground you're not supposed to lose, you don't get it back easily. I'm not stepping outside, I said. He counted down like I was a teenager past curfew. 3, 2. I remember thinking he's not going to do it. He's bluffing. 1. He stepped over the threshold. Do not enter my home, I said clearly, loud enough for the camera above the door to catch every word. He lunged forward, raised the taser, and fired. If you've never been tased, it's not like the movies. It's not dramatic slow motion. It's instant shutdown. Your body doesn't belong to you for those 5 seconds. 50,000 volts feels like your muscles are being hijacked by someone else's remote control. My knees gave out. I hit the floor I had swept an hour earlier. My wife screamed. He rolled me onto my stomach, drove his knee into my back, cuffed me while the wires were still attached. You just assaulted me in my own house, I managed to say, struggling to breathe. He radioed it in like he'd just taken down a dangerous suspect. Backup arrived fast. A sergeant walked in, took one look at me on the ground, my wife crying beside me, and then looked at him. What happened? Suspicious subject, non-compliant. She glanced around at the framed photos, the mail on the table with my name on it. Suspicious subject in his own foyer. He hesitated. Just a second. But that second told the whole story. My wife handed over my license, the mortgage papers, utility bills, all with our address printed clear as day. Then the sergeant looked at me. What do you do for a living? I'm retired law enforcement, I said. 21 years. The room went quiet. And this entire interaction, I nodded toward the doorbell camera, is recorded. That was the twist he didn't see coming. Because if there hadn't been a camera, this would have turned into paperwork. A report saying I was aggressive. A line about officer safety. Maybe even charges that would take months to clear. You know what I mean. But there was a camera, and it didn't blink. We released the footage the next day after talking to an attorney. I thought maybe local news would pick it up. Instead, it went everywhere. Millions of views in days. Legal experts breaking down each frame. Former officers shaking their heads. You could see everything. My calm tone, his escalating anger, the illegal entry, the taser deployment. No yelling, no lunging, no threat from me. Just a man standing in his own doorway, refusing to step outside without cause. He was suspended by Monday morning. But suspension isn't accountability. We filed a federal civil rights lawsuit. Illegal entry, excessive force, assault, violation under color of law, emotional distress. The city settled for millions. But we didn't stop there. We pursued him personally. Some people didn't like that. The department already paid, they said. Isn't that enough? Here's my answer. If a regular citizen assaults someone, they're personally responsible. A badge shouldn't change that. The judgment hit him hard. Assets seized, house sold, retirement drained, bankruptcy denied because intentional civil rights violations don't disappear that way. Criminal charges followed. Conviction. Jail time. His marriage didn't survive it. His kids saw the video at school before he could explain it. People call it karma. Some say it's tragic. And this is where it gets complicated. Because while the outcome brought accountability, it didn't erase the moment on that floor. It didn't erase the feeling of knowing that if I hadn't known the law, if I hadn't had that camera, this might have gone very differently. I started speaking at police academies. I'd stand in front of recruits and pause the video right before the taser fires. Right here, I'd say, this is the moment where ego overrides judgment. This is where bias whispers louder than training. Some thanked me, some avoided my eyes. Do I feel vindicated? Not really. I wanted to finish mowing the lawn. I wanted to grill dinner. I wanted ordinary. Instead, I became an example. Here's the question I can't shake. What if there wasn't a camera? How many times has this happened to someone without documentation in their hand, without 21 years of experience, without the language to say probable cause and exigent circumstances? Technology didn't create justice. It forced transparency. And transparency forced consequences. So when people ask me if the punishment was too harsh, I flip it around. What would have been fair if the roles were reversed? If I, as an officer, had stepped into someone's home and tased them without cause? Would anyone argue for leniency then? Yeah, that happened. This isn't about revenge, it's about responsibility. Authority without accountability erodes trust faster than anything else. I still live in that house. I still mow the lawn. Neighbors wave a little differently now. Some with sympathy, some with admiration, some maybe uncomfortable. Life moved on, but the footage never disappears. And maybe that's the point, because the camera saw everything. It saw a calm homeowner and an officer who couldn't stand being questioned. It saw the exact second pride turned into force. So I want to hear from you. Was justice served? Was the personal financial judgment too much? Should officers face individual liability more often? Or does that discourage good people from wearing the badge? Have you ever been in a situation where you knew you were right, but you also knew without proof it wouldn't matter? Tell me about it. Push back if you disagree. This conversation matters more than the lawsuit ever did. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't just about one officer or one homeowner. It was about power perception and the thin line between authority and abuse. And sometimes the only thing standing between them is a little red light blinking above your door.